And I just got a calling to look at the chart of Finland. I have no idea why, but it's been on my mind, and I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. So first of all, the midheaven right now is 0 degrees Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, and Venus in 14 degrees Scorpio. Ascendant 7 degrees Leo. And we know 7 degrees is this kind of karmic degree, and 0 degree is such a powerful, the essence of Taurus degree. Okay, it's by the way the point to where my chart evolves in terms of Plutonian astrology. And this is a Mars night and the Mars hour. So Mars, 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 and Mars is in Cancer in the 12th house, while the Moon is in the 4th house in Scorpio. So we have this reception between the 12th and the 4th. Mars also ruling the 9th house at the time of recording. And now, without further ado, and even though I'm a bit tired, we go to the first chart of Finland, and that would be, we're gonna have a lot of effort moments. So first of all, I'm on Yarrow, and my body filled with Kamazuan, so lots of truth will be coming up, but also a lot of, this any anger that's building up. So we'll see what happens. Damn. Finland natal chart. So we have one from 1917, but I'm going to go to the 1500 first. This is Astroteam. And I know I touched on Finland, but I got a calling to touch on it again and see why. Let's see. First of all, midheaven, 29 degrees Sagittarius, ascendant 27 degrees Pisces. Neptune retrograde, okay, is but less than a degree from Finland ascendant. This means Finland is going viral, okay? Finland is going viral. There's something of surrendering of the path when it comes to Finland right now. That can be the energy of the flood. And when it comes to Taurus, Finland and this chart has, first of all, we have Venus on Beta Persei, which means that right now Uranus Beta Persei, is going over the Venus, the original Venus of Finland from the 1500s. So we're talking about a giant stellium in Taurus. Okay, we got Mars in the 1st degree, Neptune in, again, 7 degree, lot of fortune, royal degree, 5 degree, Moon 21 degree. And then we got Uranus. By the way, when Uranus was on the moon of this chart, Finland bought from Israel the system that's called Kele David, which is basically that red technology we saw on Maui, like, the infrared stuff. Like, I don't remember, this laser stuff. I don't know. So I'm not saying it's Israel, but it's the same patent, okay? And Finland bought it to have this in Finland. So, and by the way, we don't use it in Israel. We still use Iron Dome. I don't know. I mean, I know they're gonna catch up. Finland's gonna catch up with NATO in a couple of days. So we'll see what they have under the sleeve. That's what I had to do. Save October, right? That's what I had to do. If I was peaceful and chilling in my safe housing, drinking my frappuccino, then I wouldn't be doing that, right? So anybody that's with energy, they have a jolly time right now. So Venus, Uranus went from the moon of this chart where Finland bought Kela David and joined NATO. Okay, we're gonna see how that comes up. Swamiland. And now Uranus is on Venus for this chart. So first of all, Venus, you can think on Venus if in a international chart, okay, a natal chart of a nation as the relations, because Venus is relations. So you think about international relations. There's some revolution around Finland's international relations. Finland's at the heart of the decision to put Putin on the line, because it's not just Crimea and it's not just Ukraine, but also the question of whether Putin eyeing Finland, and that caused Finland to join NATO. The result of which we're going to see, just in a couple of days, the first step of what does that conjoining mean now that we have new head of NATO. So Uranus has definitely been revolutionizing the international relations. And here is also with the locality, because it's third house and Venus in our home sign. Now it can change for the currency as well. It can change for relation towards the Venusian, the women that hopefully should be even more liberated, okay? Otherwise, the beta per se, Uranus effects, okay, I just had a lot of fortune hitting Uranus again, like the talisman that I made with Uranus retrograde going on that. My God, I blew up the entire city. Okay, so Venus beta per se with Uranus in transit is going to be loud, and I believe it already began where Finland joined NATO, and the discussion, it became a part of international organization, but it's also to do with currency. So I don't know what are changes in currency. There's going to be a plan, maybe digital currency, and those changes must improve upon women. Otherwise, Al Ghul will make it so that it improves upon women. Okay, it killed 2 generations of men in the Second World War. She don't play. She don't play. Okay, that's very obvious. Gotta honor this goddess. But she's also not malevolent. Okay, she yields great wealth. You just gotta, respect. You gotta respect. And every time I say that, there's always energy in the room. Get mad, get this, get that, get that. Get what? What did I say? What did I say about Cancer? Cancer, moon, breasts, nourishment, food. You mess with that, what happens? 2 generations of men kaput, al gol, c'est tout. Okay? We're at the season. Uranus is at the season. And if in between 1939 to 1941, Finland wasn't the star of the show, now it is a part of NATO. Okay? And there is, Russia, the feeling of a threat that could come from Russia, okay, if not already coming from Russia. And the ammunition of Kela David, which is basically even more advanced in exterminating everything that is not blue, as we saw in Maui, than Iron Dome. And so this is a patent, okay? But how you use the patent technology is technology. They bought the technology. You can use one way, they can use another way. So Finland in this set of years is not going to be Finland as it was in 1939, 1941. And so this prompts the question, okay, what will be relation of women? What will be relation with other countries? how will the technological advancement be of service to women? Because if they not, we saw what Algol did in the rest of the world. Okay, very, very important. And when I say the Venusian, I mean also the voice, the ability to speak for oneself, respect, creativity, and especially now that we have all this AI that can be beautiful, but it must not be at account of people. Okay. Um, and beautiful things can happen with the conjoining with Uranus. You have to set good intentions and let it flow. Otherwise, that can completely, yes, this is, it's not for a reason that Algol is revered. So the basis that Finland has with this moon in Taurus for this chart and Venus in the fifth lunar mansion, okay, it's a good basis. This is the basis that gave us housing first. This is the basis that gave us open dialogue. This is the basis that gave us the vicinity of nature, the lifestyle of work, where work is efficient, but it's not overbearing. Okay, this is the Taurus moon and the stellium in Taurus. So there's a lot going for Finland to not lose Finland. And what they must do is make sure that if there are more things to tackle, then yes, to tackle, and definitely not to go to places where they don't want to be anymore, okay? Or to places where they haven't been or they are not and they don't want to be at. Now we got the sun 29 degrees Gemini, which right now is squaring Neptune. Okay, so Sun of Finland squaring Neptune, it means that there can be deception in the character of the relations between leaders and the state. Because ascendant is the country. Ascendant is the country. It's not the people, not the leaders. It's just Finland. The sun is the leader. Now, what is beautiful here is that the sun is in the fourth house. Okay, so leaders are of the people, for the people, and it can also mean that back then we didn't have democracy. So the king, the kingdom in this selected chart was even, perhaps even, I don't know the history, perhaps even of the people, or a strong emphasis of a local king, of a king that, or king or queen that are serving the people, that are, they're down with the people. They're not up there. And even ruler of the 10th house, Sagittarius, the ruler Jupiter, is both the ruler of the ascendant and is also in the 4th house in Gemini. Now, Gemini, yes, in detriment, but it means that the ruler of the leaders, again, with the people, and we are talking about a chart that dates back to 1550. Okay, so we must first of all appreciate the past and the nature of Finland way before democracy to be this kingdom where leaders are down with the people. They're not up there. And Leo, 6th house. So the Leo archetype, the leader, the king, is of service to the people. This brings back thoughts about king. I think of Norway, it was Leopold. And even before democracy, the thought that the king or the royalty is of service to the people, the ancient belief that solar eclipses can be harmful to kings, and Chinese belief that if a king dies, or whatever, the equivalent of that, the person who runs the empire dies, then they lost the mandate of the heaven. Okay, if somebody murdered them, it's because they lost the mandate of the heaven. Okay, the system very holistically. And so you see that even in ancient thought, even in thought that preceded democracy, we had this understanding that the rule of the heavens cannot be traded, or cannot be, yes, the rule of the heavens cannot be traded so much so as to distort what is benefic for the people. Okay, Venus Beta per se is something that's very common to royal families. I saw also in Netherlands something to do with that, and in Great Britain. Okay, but we now know England, and the royal family as well had a lot with Venus Beta per se. Again, Beta per se, the triple phase ruled by thy decree, and all. So the triple phase, when we honor Venus, or Orphic hymn to Venus, or similar hymn to Venus, we honor also the fixed star within the domain of Venus. So this would be Beta per se, which is Algol, and this would also be Spica. We talk about the crops, the yield. We're not just talking about Taurus. We are also talking about Spica. Now you tell me, Shirley, but Spica is sidereally Virgo and da 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 da. I don't know what to tell you. This is the Orphic hymn for Venus. Okay, so having the most revered star, that is also the star of abundance, also tells us something about how women were revered. Because you cannot do Algol, like they would learn very quickly that when they try to do like what they do now with the hermaphrodite cults and the Vatican and all this, like creating trauma on purpose and stealing wombs from young girls and stuff like that. So they would learn very quickly that deep disasters come on the kingdom when this is done. Okay? So even before democracy, people were not stupid. And that's something that very fascinating to see in the chart. Very interesting here, Uranus with Rahu in the anaretic degree of Virgo. Okay, so this would mean Ketu with the ascendant, Virgo would be with the descendant. So perhaps this is a country that was meant to merge with another country, or was meant to be in partnership with another country, hopefully not in war. And Uranu-Rahu is advanced technology. So even in 1500, there was attempt, and you must understand, even without Uranus, you can do that even with Rahu, okay? Because Rahu is where we haven't been, so this is aspiration to the future. It's very future-oriented, and now that we have Uranus, we know Uranus, then we can say that Uranu-Rahu gives us extra faded, extra chaotic, but also extraterrestrial, in a very real way, extraterrestrial. They were aiming for certain partnership with that which is either, other lands that they didn't know, or perhaps they didn't know of when Earth ends and where is space. So perhaps they were aiming for partnerships so that maybe they would continue, or the Finns would continue on to live in space. I don't know. Again, I don't know anything about the history of Finland all that much. I would definitely look it up. So this is very interesting for me to discover. Mercury in Cancer, 3 degrees. And so this is the ruler of Rahu and the ruler of the leaders and the people. Oh, I understand why this is such a beautiful thing, because Mercury in Cancer is usually not a place we would go to, because Cancer is very emotional communication, and Mercury is not at home there. But this Mercury rules over the leaders, both in the north as the leaders, as the kingdom, as those who are owning the 10th house, and as the sun, both of them in Gemini. Now the ruler, just to make sure that he's so enmeshed with the people, is in Cancer, which is the sign of the people, and the moon in Taurus, which is sign of exaltation of the moon. So think how much thought was summoning up. And even if they didn't do it with this chart is showing essence of the thought of the foundation of this kingdom, and laying, the what we call laying the cement, um, for something that is really noble, that's really grounded, that is for the people. There was a thought there that the leaders are of the people, and that they are planning to communicate with space, and they're bringing the best of their best. Okay, Venus in her home sign in Beta per se, and I guess that's why royal families use Venus Beta per se, um, because it's the most revered star, and Venus is at home in Taurus, so they wanted to bring the best of Venus, the fruits of Venus, to their partnership. Okay, the wealth of Venus, because if you have the wealth that's coming from the triple face, is coming from a goal, and perhaps Beta per se is more correct to say that, because Al Ghul is basically in Arabic like the head of Satan, which is archaic, outdated, and I think even Arabs need to change the name if they want to remain the reputation for Islam. I have to do this, okay? I said what I said, okay? So, but also with that, they changed the relation to women. And I'm talking about the Sedna story there. I know that women can own land and so on. Yes, but still, the usual Sedna stories that accompany us from the Inuit need to change all across the board. And so it's very fascinating to see what was the thought in the 1500, 1550, and how advanced it was, at least in this country, in this region, in this kingdom, to reach out and look at the planets in Aquarius. We have Saturn at home in Aquarius, Lilith, and Pluto. Now, of course, Pluto, nobody knew about the outer planets back then, but Saturn in its home sign, retrograde. This tells me a couple of things. First of all, one thing is they could say, okay, Saturn is in its home sign, so what if it's retrograde? It's not ruling anything particular. Another thing, Saturn is in the 12th house, which is house of its joy. Okay, remember Chris Beranen, his article, Joy of the Planets? Okay, then 12th house is the joy of Saturn. Why is it joy of Saturn? Because it's considered house of bad spirit. And even if they didn't know it in these terms, they very likely were not ignorant of that. And so this is when you want to stop hidden enemies at their track. Now Saturn here is retrograde. Retrograde Saturn has an extra Uranian flavor. Okay, not only is it the Saturn in Aquarius, not in Capricorn, so it's the system outside the system, it's the breaking free from the system. Saturn here would defend the 12th house in unusual ways. This is already setting the ground for treating schizophrenia with housing first and open dialogue. Because you support nervous system with structure. And so if it means if I have correct structure for my nervous system, then I will have good mental health, which is, as a natal Aquarian 12th house, I can say that is true. Okay. And this Saturn is going to create something unusual about jail system, about hospitals. Unfortunately, we know that in history of Finland there was also castration. Unfortunately, still, it wasn't always open dialogue. They did all the wrong things before they did the right one with scientific horror shit that's not even science. But it also lays the ground for treating a lack of flexibility and structure that allows for healthy nervous system, okay, with adjusting the structure so that the nervous system is correct. So adjusting what is the structure of the hospital, the structure of the house. There's something more open about Aquarius, okay? and Aquarius is a sign of equity. Okay, it's not a hierarchical sign. Okay, this is where you listen to the patient, you believe the patient, because if they have irregularities in their nervous system, you're fascinated about these patterns. Okay, this is basically how I got to know about open dialogue. It was just fascinating, both with linguistic things and mistakes that people make, and when people will say, I have psychotic contact, they have psychotic contact. I was like, what are the patterns within the psychosis? Naturally, because I have Aquarius 12th house, I was thinking of mental ailment in a way to what are the patterns within the crazy, and lo and behold, I found that the Finns were preceding me. Okay, actually the Dutch, but it's practiced in Finland. Um, so yeah, we'll shame the Dutch for Basel Randall later, at a later episode. And then we got Pluto retrograde, 27-degree Aquarius. Now, at this time, I believe Deneb Algedi was even farther from, okay, farther from Pluto, so I cannot say it conjuncts Deneb Algedi in any way, shape, or form. And it squares Venus. So there is, they did not know about Pluto, but there is a bit of an issue where we have this square. That's putting that means that right now Putin that's Putin that's Putin that's Putin it's a lapsus. Okay, I had my instructor would always say it's a lapsus. Okay, he was not a sex offender, um at least not towards me, fortunately. So no, I mean it came out bad. So Uranus squaring Pluto right now, uh, for Finland, it means that there's some touch on the friction between Venus and Pluto, and that tells me that um, that can be problematic situation. Okay, it can be crisis situation. Whereas Pluto in transit is trining Uranus, so there is basically a calling to do the Pluto and Venus, to do the hospitals and the neighborhood and all these things in a way different from what was done before. Now it can go both ways, both towards the Great Reset or to reclaim the reset. Okay, and Finland can actually improve upon its mental health care, and the neighborhood safety and car safety, um, and businesses safety. Actually, entrepreneurship is very supported here, and use this transit to maybe make talisman and act as if it has Venus trine Pluto, because right now in the transit it still can. Once Pluto is going to go in 20 years ago to go to the Pluto return of Finland, which is going to be fascinating. Um, it's going to square Venus. So this is crisis relationships. And Pluto square Venus, or Pluto hard aspect into Venus, it always brings a source of authenticity and empowerment. And Venus usually is the one that is transforming and transformed, because the point is for Venus to find her power and find its self-value. Okay, that means a crisis for the Plutonian forces. So this would be a good time to use this trine in transit between Uranus and Pluto, and Venus and Pluto, in order to cleanse of whatever baggage still is. Okay, whatever taboo still is. This could also mean if there is any human trafficking, sex trafficking, stuff that was not tended to with open dialogue and housing first. That is now the time to address it, before Uranus is going to do. Uranus is not going to be forgiven with Finland, because right now it is not isolated. It was isolated, more isolated between 1939 to 1941. It is no longer the case. It's not the same transit for Finland. And so with the Pluto Aquarius, we are approaching, we're only 20 years before Pluto return for Finland. And this is once in 248 years. So this is a big one. Okay, this is a big one. Um, Other transits. So Rahu right now is in the second house of Finland. This means Ketu is in the eighth house, but also we already had a lunar eclipse on the ascendant of Finland conjuncting Neptune. Okay, we already had the lunar eclipse in Pisces, and we're aiming towards the first and seventh eclipses with Rahu in the first. This means that Finland is actually moving towards isolation, towards dissolving certain partnerships. I know it just recently joined NATO, so I have to admit I don't know what that means for Finland, but it means it's going towards a sort of independence, while Neptune is going to be with Saturn on it. So maybe some sort of further independence from Russia through NATO. But there's some sort of a move towards dissolution of some communist ideas or dissolution of some medical structure in Finland, but in a way that Finland will do it itself. This is given me dissolving from the WHO. So I don't want to be too optimistic, but it's not impossible. This chart is giving, we are going to Rahu reversal, which means first of all, Finland is moving towards being less dependent on external income and more self-reliant, but there is Chiron in the mix. And so, but the first thingy is Finland is, this chart is Finland serving its people, okay, leaders serving its people. WHO will not go in Finland. Think about this is a country that comes from, even if you have psychosis, you cannot be political prisoner so easy because the people know, okay? They're not dumb. They know, okay? They know of open dialogue, they know of the structure, they know of the rights. They used to live lifestyle where they have a time to think, okay? If you go to sauna in the middle of work, not because you're inefficient. And in Finland, I heard from locals that if you work overtime, it means you don't know how to manage your time. So you see how this Saturn in Aquarius retrograde is given a different notion of time. It's like, hey, if you know how to manage the time, it's not about putting the extra work, it's about working efficiently. Maybe you're not resting enough. What is happening? Why are you not managing time? Okay, let's look at the mental condition. Okay, and tend to that so you're efficient and you do things on time. You don't overwork. If you overwork, it means you're not efficient. You don't know how to work with the time. This is so much Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. And look at this third house Taurus with everything in it, and even Mars in Taurus. This is a Mars that knows that to work you need to rest. Very simply put, otherwise it doesn't work. This is Mars. So it's very aware of that. I just saw a colleague that posted around life energy, okay, sexual energy, Cameron, and he looked at it like a recipe. Okay, you need the oil, you need the this, you need the that, and the oil is how much you rest, how much you nourish your body. Okay, Finn's aware of that, and with this Mars, they're super aware of that, because this is Mars in an Earth sign, where you have to sleep in order to work efficiently. Other things that I see here. So yes, it's not impossible for Finland to say bye-bye to WHO. In fact, I don't understand how. The only reason it hasn't happened is because of Putin. Okay, they're afraid of Putin, so they joined NATO, and NATO is mingled with the WEF and the WHO. So either NATO is going to dissolve connection with WEF and the WHO, or NATO is going to be dissolved. Okay. Other way, head of NATO is positioned both here and in the WEF, so it's not bothering them. But in terms of kind of like the world structure, again, with all these things that they try to enforce, the pandemic, that is to that, people are only have so much tolerance for that, because there, this is the country. Think about, you try to recruit to a cult somebody that comes from healthy upbringing. So maybe they lost a parent, or they lost a friend, or they lost someone, and they're more susceptible to hear of what you have to say. But then after the grieving process, they go back to being them. This is Finland. Okay, it's not rotten from the core. Okay. Yeah, and you have to admit it. You have to admit it. This chart is probably why we will see future chart where we have moon on the 22nd degree Ukraine. When are we going to have a declaration of independence for Ukraine again? Okay, so the goal living in Israel. Um, no, really, we have sun on our goal. Sun on our goal, Israeli men still playing macho. I mean, don't they know what's coming? Um, not all men. Not all hermaphrodites. So reclaiming the two. And so hermaphrodites, because Aphrodite. Mama versus Mafia. If you don't get what I'm saying, it's Mama versus Mafia on YouTube. Let's go to the more recent chart, 1917. Finland natal chart. And this one is December 6th. So we had one for June. We had the sun in Gemini. Um, and now we have another one. Very fascinating. The eighth house. Now, just by seeing midheaven in the eighth house, 20 degrees Capricorn, before we go over the rest of the things, why would we elect a midheaven in the eighth house? Before you know it's Capricorn, before you know it's Saturn ruled. Okay? Why would we like, what is the eighth house? No, it's not a house of trauma. It's only a house of trauma if your economy, debt, inheritance, life insurance, bolicolies, I guess 1917, we're talking modern times, is based on betrayal cults. Okay? So this is where they try to fuck up Finland. And they can try very hard, but the 1500s still still Swami still, you know? And Rahu with Mercury in the eighth house. It try to go eighth house, try to go to the occult, but not the occult for us, like, a couple of people doing a manifestation magic for, I don't know, their new house or whatnot. No, it is what we think it is, Ketu in the second house. They try to make Finland dependent financially. They try to make Finland not sovereign. I don't like this, okay? Who elected this chart? Definitely the Masons, definitely the Rosies, okay? It ain't 1500 no more. So you saw that pre-democracy, Finland had a better chart than now. So Sun in the seventh house, again, emphasis on partnership, codependency, leaders in the seventh house. It's kind of like the leaders of Finland is kind of like, we're not thinking Finland anymore. We're thinking European Union or some global union, more so than sovereign countries. How many countries got Sun in the eighth house? United States, Israel. Sun is the leader. What's the eighth house? Owned by another, funded by another, okay? Dependent financially on another. That's what's up, okay? Ketu in the second house. What's the second house? The values, the skills, the income, okay? Not so dependent on its own income, but dependent on, okay, investments. And it's not a passive income that we're talking about. Ascendant ruled by, okay, Mercury is the ruler of the ascendant. Mercury, Rahu in the 8th. So they taking even the ruler of the ascendant. Let's take all the sovereignty, the 4th house, the relax, the Swami land, the saunas, and turn it into a corporation. What do you think is gonna happen? Those are the Finns, you know? I say if you can't beat them, finish them. Not finish out unalive, but become like Finnish, because you better off become like Finnish than try to put Finland outside of Finland. Everybody's gonna miss Finland. Everybody's you don't have. I've never been in Finland. I miss Finland. The minute I heard Putin said I'm in Finland, I said don't take Suomiland until Suomiland. Don't take our saunas. I've never been to these saunas. Don't take our saunas. Don't take this work culture where you go to the sauna. We don't take this work culture. We don't overwork. Don't take that. Don't take that, you know, culture where people play in the snow because it's better for the immune system. Don't take that. Where the hospital is your house and you believe, okay, you don't mess with that. Okay, people be caring for Finland, defending Finland, outside of Finland, like until the Finns. Okay, why, like, you know, why Ruth is smart? Because Ruth said what he said about Putin. He said the Finlandization of Europe. What he meant is Europe, Putin not talking about Ukraine, talking about Finland. Why? Because we, you know, all my love for Ukraine, entire Haredi Zionist people are right now in Uman. Bring back Ruth's children, bring back Ruth's children, bring back Ruth's children, Ruth Shalom's children. I said what I said. Perhaps that monsieur in Uman is from the afterlife is working for that. That's why we say it now, New Year. But when it comes to Finland, everybody knows that's a standard of life, connection with nature, the Taurian flex without being, you know, without running into the troubles that Italy runs into. Okay? You know, we all love Italy and we all know what I'm talking about. Okay? Don't take Swamiland. And this chart in the 1917, it tries to unalive Finland. It's not going to work. People are just going to go back to the 1500s. They're going to go back to working with the saunas and stuff, okay? They're going to go back to open dialogue. They're going to go back to, you know, going to have a 10 researchers popping on every infiltrator because, hey, it's more natural it's more healthy for your immune system to play outside than to take all these pills. Okay, how you heal psychosis? Fully you believe the person. What if you said the government chases them? Well, what you said, the government chases them, or you believe the person, but you let him live in a place until they feel well, and the government doesn't chase them anymore. And then what happens? Oh, we dissolved from the WHO. Then maybe they were not imagining. Okay, you can build this chart. Try to malefic. It's kind of, you know, this chart is like somebody saw Finland and said, I'm going to do black magic. They have it all well. I said, why not finish them? You got people, finish them, not kill them. Make them finish. Build another Finland. Okay? You gotta build. Now, the only problem that stood for that chart was that Venus-Pluto relations. That is not improved in here. Jupiter detriment. Beseder. Saturn in Leo, Neptune in Leo, intergenerational planet. Mars conjuncting Moon in Virgo in the 4th house. Now, what is Mars ruling? The 11th house and the 6th house. Now, Mars conjuncting Moon, there was a debate about Mars conjuncting Moon, because Mars conjuncting Moon is too close. They need a sextile, they need the trine. Mars is a hot planet, hot and dry. The Moon is the fertile planet, cannot be dried up. Okay, it needs to meet Mars in a good aspect. Okay, so that creates conflicts. They try to create conflict. But some people say that your greatest love is the person whose Mars is in the same sign of your moon sign. I don't know. If I'm your greatest love and you have moon in Scorpio, for which that means you're suffering enough. So anyway, this is placement where they try to make people fight. And moon in Virgo, what is moon Virgo? Virgo is work-oriented. They try to make people either clean or they try to make people work like Virgo. And work for whom? For the 8th house. Okay? It's like something not... Finland ain't Finland in here. Finland is not Finland in. I think Swamiland would see this chart to say, we've been here since the 1500s, even when we had a king. That king was for the people. We're still in that. Whoever these folks are, the international welfare, kidnapping children and saying it's Finland. Okay? Swamiland is Swamiland. Now, what I say is Finland needs to get out of the chains of this chart and go back to the Declaration of Independence. First of all, one can reinstate the Declaration of Independence or have a Declaration of Independence closer to the 1500 chart, but with Pluto in a better aspect to Venus. Venus here, 0 degree Aquarius in the 9th house, that's okay. You know, this is, still the science-oriented thing is maintained because, of course, they wanted technology. But that technology was like the type of how some of the Egyptians were communicating with technology. Now, they didn't have the same standards of human rights that we have because it was not yet the time. But when you think about the people that communicate with aliens and the people that receive healing frequencies, okay, it was kind of like that shit. It was not like the alien enslavement program, okay? And here they try to take everything good in Finland and kind of like recruit that for something that isn't Finland. Genuinely, 8th house isn't Finland, it's hidden resources. And Mars here, ruler of 8th house, is in the 3rd house with its ruler in the 7th house. They try to exploit, somebody come from the outside, try to exploit the resources, exploit the people, exploit that. You know, the Finns are gonna Finn. They probably have some magic, some hidden technologies that they still remember. I wouldn't mess with that. I wouldn't mess with that. You know what? I was afraid for Finland. Before I looked at it, I said, I'm afraid for Finland. Because I saw that they're joining NATO, okay? And what? No, I mean, yeah, I mean, right? And because of Putin, yes, I know. He does good infrastructure, you know, people in Russia love him because he does great infrastructure, yes? But then, you know, I think best advice for Putin is to finish the, finish the Russians. I said what I said, if he does Finland in Russia, he takes entire world war. People want Swamiland. Okay, so and look at this Pluto opposing Rahu, opposing Neptune, because evolutionary, this Pluto would be moving to 4 degrees Capricorn in the 8th house. Okay, so the wealth is moving, the evolutionary part is towards being dependent, being codependent, being these hidden resources, exploitation of land. And I'm like, whatever, you know, the aligned, think about two people that work with the same entity, letter per se. Okay, one tries to make human sacrifices, tries to do black magic, tries to do this, tries to do that. The other says, tries to honor people, tries to see pattern, hidden pattern, what was considered psychosis, try to nourish people that and care for their voices, to allow people to be safe in sexuality, to give blessings, okay, to the triple goddess, to learn more about the myth, about this, to give reverence to this, to that. Who do you think is going to take this game? Two people working with same entity. One with honor, reverence, and respect, and one with trying to control, to this, to that. Of course, the honor, reverence, and respect is going to take the game every time. Okay? So if you talk about Swamiland of the 1500, this is Finland. And also, this is what people know as Finland. This is what people know as Finland. Very resourceful people, okay? If you think about, you know, if you have an empty jar of, almost empty jar of shampoo, then you would put water. This all this. If you had a European old parents, you know these tricks. It took me time to withdraw from these tricks, but it's also the showing the resourcefulness, because in cold climate, the advocates, right? In cold climates you need that, and it's true. In cold climates you need food to recycle, and also you think about the, you know, the ecosystem. So all of that stellium in Taurus is also the recycling, the resourcefulness, and so on, and yet the rest, the joy of living, the just enjoying nature, even without saying anything. Okay, and this chart is trying to unalive Finland. It's not going to work. They're not, they're not going to do it. Okay, and there would be, I think, one of the first, with the Saturn Neptune going with the eclipses. 2026 is going to be important as well in that, but with the Saturn Neptune will be in the 2nd house, but before that, as it comes into the eclipses and the Rahu comes there to the ascendant, then they are going to break free from a structure. Now, Neptune is global structure, Saturn is to do with depth. So think about trade, wealth, okay, stuff like that. And structure, Neptune, also medicine. So WHO, they're gonna come out of that, and it's trying to hold them, okay, through the army, through NATO, okay, and through, you know, pitting Putin against them. Putin is not stupid. Eventually, he's going to make Russia like Finland. He's not stupid. He's working with astrology. He has Chiron, and I believe we have correct chart of Putin. You know what? When I tried at first, I said I don't do Putin because we don't have chart, and you know Russia hide everything. But no, we have, I believe, correct chart of Putin, even with the houses, because Chiron in Capricorn, okay, the wounded healer, and Capricorn is infrastructure. And what he's known for is creating infrastructure. This is curating his own 4th house. And he is appreciated by the people because every street looks so beautiful, more so than even developed countries elsewhere. And people remember that. And this was him curating his own fourth house, and he's doing something for the motherland, which is also the fourth house. Okay, so it's not stupid. If his competition with Finland, and Finland gets the world, you know, Finland gets, I think, at least Europeans, just as, you know, northern Lebanon gets Israel. Okay. In the Second Lebanese War, when Nasrallah was still alive, or was still addressed as alive, then Israel responded to Nasrallah in a way that he said, if I knew Israel would respond, would lose its head like this, give an elbow, then I wouldn't do what I did. Okay, Finland has the same notion. Europe can absolutely lose its head over Finland. With Ukraine, we go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, okay? And everybody knows they've been treating Jews bad in Crimea, okay? Not all these Jews are these satanic cults, okay? Some of these Jews just common people. Everybody knows that, okay? But you got to defend the country. I mean, what can you do? But Finlandization of Europe, now everybody gets it. Now everybody gets it. So Putin's not dumb. He might Finlandify Russia. And now we're really up with the competition. But we're talking Swamiland. We're not talking this WHO chart. That shit with that. Okay? What that satanic cult shit. Okay? That ain't Swamiland. That's not the Finland that people would lose their head over like Israel lost its head, but over Lebanon. Okay, that's not the thing. We want the saunas. We want the work there is maybe 8-hour workday, but you have a sauna in between. Okay, we want the boss that tells you that if you're working overwork, you say, what's wrong with you? Maybe something in your family, maybe something because you're not managing time well. You need to be chilling in the afternoon sauna right now. Okay? We want the Finland where children play outside. And what is the cure for COVID? To go to the forest and play outside. But it's snowy, the snow, but the snow. There's no bad weather. There's good clothing. If bad clothing, then we'll give you clothing. Then you can go outside and play, and it's for your immune system, okay? This is how we treat COVID in Finland. Don't take Swamiland. You know? Over that Swamiland, yeah, we're with you all the way. We love your infrastructure, Putin, but Swamiland, nobody messes with Swamiland. Instead of political prisoners, housing first and open dialogue, who can F with that? Not a country in the world can compete with that. But this chart, and this is from 1917, so you understand they've been trying to do that since 1917. We're in 2024, have not been successful for over 100 years. No reason they should be successful now. Only way to go is if you finish Europe. And then the person will do that. That would be one of the greatest, like kings alive. Like people talk about King Leopold. They would be going into the book of history for thousands, for millennia, not for centuries, for millennia. Okay, so think about legacy. That's Finland is spot on, but it's 1500 Finland. Spot on, but with the Venus in better aspects to Pluto. I invite a Declaration of Independence. Okay, so what are these transits to this? apartheid. I don't know what to call it. So the transits for this thing, that's not Finland, are such. There's a Neptune in its 10th house, which is why we're speaking. Because we must make it viral that the 1500 chart is Swamiland. This chart, nothing to do. This is, this is Robobank shit, In Netherlands, we would say it's Robobank shit. It's that kind of shit. It's the guy who tortured, those people that tortured our leaders shit. It's heating up the atmosphere. 11th house Raus. So now Finland. Now we talk about Finland. Okay. 11th house Rao, Ketu in the 5th. This tells us that the discussions about war, but this is 11th house. It's how should I say it? It's basically NATO. Okay, it's basically the military union here. But can be problems to the motherland. So this is where we see, this is Putin. Okay, this is the threat of Russia, the threat of invasion. Okay, but could also be the deportation. Okay, separation of people, separation of land. And then we have Uranus in the 12th house for this chart. Uranus Beta per se sits in the 12th house for this chart. So this is giving somebody remembers. Somebody remembers, first of all, the 1500 chart. Somebody remembers that the long way Finland has gone towards open dialogue, which happened with this chart, okay? And housing first. Somebody remembers that this long, remote, isolated country now becoming world acclaimed, okay, known, discussed. And this also tells me that this is sign of hidden enemies. So hidden enemy is revolution. Hidden enemy is the digital currency. Hidden enemy is when the people or women or resources, okay, if you try to move away from housing first into hospital structure, this can trigger the worst of this 12th house, and it's going to do so on an international level. Okay, so you can say, oh, if I wanted to unnerve Finland, yeah, you will deal with the triple face, while there are people very likely in Finland working with the triple face benefically. Okay, you're up against people who give reverence to these planetary figures rather than killing their name or kill to try to control them. Okay. What more? So I talked about the big tree. Pluto. Pluto is over this Venus, which rules the 12th house. Okay, transform. This attempt to transform anything taboo. You know, when I wanted to record this episode, I said I want to talk about the taboos in Finland because I don't know them, and this chart, it denotes of that because Pluto is going over this Venus. November 19, it ingresses and it goes over this Venus again for last time, and she rules over the 12th house. Okay, yes, she rules over the 5th house, but the 12th with Uranus is going to be more interesting here, because we're going to be speaking internationally about the taboos of Finland. Any sex trafficking, any mistreat of women, any castration of women, any how should I say that, when husband first open dialogue not practiced correctly, all of these things we are going to be speaking about them worldwide and transforming them. And so taboos are exposed. Again, all eyes on Finland. Taboos are exposed. So even with this chart, I'm very hopeful because Uranus is not going to leave this 12th house. Not, it's not going to leave it not undone. It's going to come undone in the sense that anything that's not in the alignment of what it should be is going to be brought to light internationally. Okay? So, um, so hidden enemy is if we make treatments or we use science or medical experiments on the fertility, the womb. This is what this was meant to do, by the way. Okay? Because Venus is in Aquarius in the 9th house, so international place where something from the 12th house comes out. So just like, for example, when I learned about open dialogue, I learned it was from Finland, even though it was developed in Netherlands, because it's practiced in Finland. Whatever practiced in the 12th is going to be internationally known in the 11th. Okay, Uranus here, Uranus opposing Saturn. Okay, there's always this crisis of structure. Uranus opposing Neptune. There is a crisis of structure, and this is kind of like a loop that collapses into itself. So my prediction around Finland, yes, it can go through extremes, but the aim is to be liberated, and even to be liberated from this chart. When Uranus is going to ingress into Gemini, this might happen. Okay, we had Rahu going over the ascendant here, got Finland more dependent. Okay, it joined NATO, but Uranus going over here and Sedna going over here, Finland will go back to the future. We're talking about 12 millennia cycle. So, but I have to warn you, it's something non-linear. So we may see certain extremes happening in Finland that we perhaps would skip. I personally would skip certain of the extremes that could happen here. But it's definitely about going back to the 1500 chart, driving back, okay, treating the 1500 chart as the chart of Finland. And astrology. I heard that in Finland, astrology is not so well accepted, or they look at you a bit off if you talk about astrology. This is because of this chart. Although it's internationally known, it could be internationally known for science, for development, for astrology. Okay, and great women astrologers as well get developed from Finland. Especially if they are in situation of like housing, forest, or jail, or retreat. We must remember that the territory of Finland is built such that many villages are considered the 12th because it's remote. Okay, it's the far away, it's the remote place. Okay, and so Venus is in conjuncting Pluto, which is a hard aspect, but it's also Uranian. There's something unexpected to do with that. So again, I would see, okay, what is happening there, and it's very likely that Finland would actually go towards more sovereignty if the people will learn astrology again, and they will look to the 1500 chart, claim the 1500 chart, set intentions with the 1500 chart, and set intention to remedify this Venus-Pluto, to get the Venus-Pluto sextile or trine in the next chart. I would look at aspects, deeper aspects into the previous chart again in the future. But this is kind of what I feel is happening for Finland. And any attempts to infiltrate, because Finland is so Uranian, any attempts to infiltrate um, will be running into liberation attempts. So this is a country where a big revolution can happen. Okay, um, where's Mars? Yes, Mars is in a T square here. Mars in Virgo. Mars in Virgo can be highly technological, and this it's not a country that, even with this chart, it's still very Uranian. It still requires for signs to be in favor of women. Okay, all attempts to withdraw away, and this keeping Swamiland, keeping Finland in more potential to balance yin and yang. Okay, is keeping it more potential to resist for these hermaphrodite cults that try to oppress medically, spiritually, sexually, both what is yang, what is yin, okay, whether it's feminine, masculine, or the genitals, or the gender or behavior, okay, that not accepted to be assertive is considered aggressive, and that not accepted to relax, enjoy, be receptive in settings that is honoring of will and consent, okay? And this is not natural to Finns. Venus Aquarius is very equitable relationships. And I heard also from the locals, okay, there's not these taboos that we have around sex. It's not this play or power plays. I don't mean kink. I mean, this holding sex, or like, it's none of this, none of that. It may not be, romantic, like, I don't know, Venus in Leo, but it's equitable relationships. It's a friendship and relationship. And that is something that even in this chart is still preserved. And this is keeping Finland, regardless if it's same sex, not same sex, because Aquarius can also be okay, is keeping Finland in good balance of energies. That's very difficult to tip the scale without creating big revolution. And people, um, people will rebel. Okay, people will rebel. They will want to, defend what needs to be defended, and they will rebel directly. You like those people that put this Mercury that rules over Mars and the Moon and ascendant in the 8th house. These people will fight their fight. Okay, they might need to learn how to do it, because Rahu, you need to move into that, but they will fight their fight, even though it's durable fight. They will fight their fight, and they would fight their fight with wits, with words, with research, with grounded techniques, grounded jury, legislation around debt. Okay, all these things. These people will fight their fight, and very bad for those who try to enslave them. Okay, it's not going to go easy with Finland. And they know it's not easy fight, but they will fight it. You mess with people that 40 degrees below zero, okay, Celsius, Fahrenheit, you double, triple that, they go to work. And they play outside, okay? It's not, and if you think about Russia, Putin is not stupid. He knows that to tackle the Finland, whatever point, in whichever situation he has been put in globally with all this WHO, WEF, and secret societies that we don't know what his location within those, he knows very well that if he gives good infrastructure and receive good work ethic, which he can spread around people of Russia, for anybody that would like that, and open dialogue and better treatment for women than even the Finn chart, then that's it. That's it. People will fight, will defend him with their lives. And it's taken all on quality of life. even we go back to the 1500 chart, the high quality of life is the stellium in Taurus. Taurus requires for high quality of life. It can be simple life, but you don't shake Taurus off the ground. And here we think about housing first is such a smart remedy because this is the mental health system. People will fight over that. They will fight a world war over that. Okay? Because they know what the world looked like before that. They know what the world looks like in other places. We have political prisoners way more with ease. Think about global infiltration, okay? You have intelligence person, they're arrested. They're put into hospital. The hospital is a housing first, and they're being believed. And they go to sauna, okay? What do you think will happen? Who they gonna? Oh, don't take us for Milan. The only thing they must with Sedna, the children, okay, very important. And even that in Finland, Finland known for, you can leave your wagon with the baby, go to the grocery store. The baby sleeps. It's in a natural weather, okay? They learn to sleep to get used to the weather. Dressed well, you go to the store, you leave it alone, okay? It's not dangerous. No pedo is going to kidnap it. Nobody's gonna snatch it for pedoing, okay? You wanna like if somebody tries to mess with that with the fins, they're gonna find out the other side of Taurus, okay? And the other side of Taurus is Scorpio, and Scorpio don't play, okay? Scorpio's like what underneath the vengeance, underneath the grudge. What do I want? A change. What is the change? I said, maybe something needs to change. Maybe that we leave the child alone, okay? Maybe this needs to change. Maybe it needs to be even better. Maybe we need to build outside every grocery store, someplace, maybe fireplace, maybe something that the child would enjoy when we go, because it's not about being afraid to leave the child alone, right? Maybe the experience we need to change it for the child, yes, but definitely not be afraid to leave the child when you go to the grocery store. That's the change. Okay. If this change happens today, no vengeance, no chip on that shoulder. Okay, that's Scorpio. The other side of Taurus is Scorpio. And with this thing, what's the 12th house? It's Taurus. You think, oh, Taurus is complacent. Of course. Of course. You come infiltrate to the 12th house, you infiltrate to the hospitals. Any doctor that's going to come there, going to go to the sauna, going to get housing first, going to be believed when they talk, okay? Expandable children projects over this, over that. Anything. How long can I stay? Forever. But they cannot work. That's the point. You need to rest. Any global intelligence that try to infiltrate a jail or a hospital with this placement, people think, oh, this placement Taurus is going to be complacent. Or any infiltrators, they're going to be known worldwide. Of course. Okay. This is not North Korea. They don't call, they don't chase Hillary Clinton. Would you take this very likely spy, because he's in prison, just don't conquer us? No. Come. No working camps. Sauna. They will sing and cross over. Why would they cross over? They cross over. Okay? That's genius. Simplicity. Everybody wants to be in Swaziland. Okay? So, even with this chart, where they try to exploit of the people, it's still the work ethic. Okay, a person can call in sick, and this is the hospital. You try to change that, this is where you get to the Scorpio side. Then that's what I love about even this chart. So, yes, it's very likely that this country will be the first to initiate dissolution of WHO. And if WEF tries to hold on too tight, then they go out. Everybody goes out. Okay? Just important to make sure children have childhood and again, Finns love their children, that they can leave them, go to the grocery store, and then come back. Child is there, resting, asleep. Everybody gets their time, their space. You didn't need to say to Finns 2 meters in COVID because they knew. It's not if you tell them 2 meters, they say, why so close? Okay, so this is Swamiland, and I'm going to be excited to see what will be the developments, like with NATO and everything. Um, and yes, because that's not the country that the world wants to lose. Okay, and it's a country that we have a lot to learn from. Not saying everything perfect naturally, every place has its own, but most of the ailments are global. And if you look at the local people, even their children, they're not afraid to leave them. And with sexuality, people not afraid, okay, not ashamed of sexuality, and not make of it like, it's a game of extortion and this, none of that crap, okay? So there's just something about Finland. Um, Only thing is that you're expected at work. It doesn't matter what weather, okay? Just wear your million clothes and you're expected um, anyway. So yes, I have to say, only reason I haven't tried to go there because of the cold. I'm used to warm countries, and I'm afraid of the cold. But I would really like to visit. So this is kind of my view. What the upcoming transit, the eclipses. Here we see eclipse nodes are going to be moving to the 10th house. It's going to be new leadership, new this, new that. Again, they may be going through extremes. They may be going through revolution. They may be looking like they're the first to adopt, the WHO, the WEF, the global thing, because they like to advance. They like to try things out. But this would be with the thinking of, well, we are going to affect this global. And when you go to the 1500 chart and you say, even when there was a king or queen, then look at the chart. This is in favor of people, needs the remediation of Venus Pluto. But all in all, in favor of people, then, like, yeah, you want Finland to have. You want Finland to have influence over what will be with the world more than you want, whoever came up with COVID. to influence that. Or more, even as Israeli can say, then you want Israel. Israel knows of open dialogue, housing first, but doesn't practice. What if Israel actually housed its citizens? We would not need to conquer land because there would be people actually housed. So it's very difficult to have invasions where people are just so safe already, okay, and they care for each other. So there's no infiltration, there's nothing to capitalize on. I mean, we could do that. And we got enough money. I mean, Rothschild founded, I think it's just like, with the children, they need to be more like Finland. Not the global warfare, but but the safety for children to have childhood and the relation to sexuality, of course, yes. Um, this is a thing. But we're absolutely not the worst. Stories of what Great Britain did in India, um, giving us rumors of psychiatry before there was psychiatry, that is, yes, they left the inspiration to do things. So again, Finland has this old, perhaps it's Swami people, perhaps it's tribal, I don't know, but it has its own old shamanic wisdom that the way we treat the marginalized in society, the way we treat the crazy people, the way we treat the people in jail, the way we treat the people in exile, if God forbid is war, then this is how the country or the tribe or the kingdom will be treated with its leaders. They know this since ancient times. We know this. Babylonians knew this. Egyptians knew this. Inuit knew this. They didn't practice so much, but they knew this. Okay? And if you apply this, then you prosper. If you don't apply this, then this is where things get quackery, you know? And every place where you go, where there's the old shamanistic knowledge, whether it's in the Americas, whether it's in Northern Europe, whether even China or Asia, I don't know so much about, yes, even Northern Russia, Siberia, all have this ancient knowledge. The only challenge is that people are like the Inuit. They were sharing like with sexuality. They were using it as courtesy, and they did not know that you need willing consent. There's a tension that holds that everybody deserves to be loved, and willing consent is important, okay, both genetically and this natural inclination to biodiversity. And it's not because the people of your tribe are not good. It's because genetic, okay, to have good immune system, to continue the race, basically to continue humanity. And physical compatibility is also more holistic, and that can also to do why people see each other as beautiful. So this is, this is the Indians knew that. This is where you have the Moon Nakshatra compatibility. If you go to Lada's course, which is a course that revives this ancient knowledge, they knew that, so they were not shy to talk about that, because it creates for the whole, it makes or breaks your connection. And so when we lost this information, and when we didn't practice, we didn't accommodate those things, then people try to put ideology into things, to try to do things correct, and they can have mistakes. And if not sufficient willing consent, there would be depression and incest, unfortunately, yes. So those things, okay, that dumb fuckery. Yeah, I think I've got most of it covered. Covered the eclipses, covered the outer planets. Not much more going on. I mean, the personal planets is really changing. The Saturn, the Mars-Pluto position. Mars is going to oppose Pluto from the end of Cancer. So Mars is going to oppose Venus here with this Pluto. The people can rise against, kind of like the World Health Organization and stuff. If this mandatory army recruitment from NATO, people will expect the hospital to be impeccable, okay? They cannot do the pandemic shit on them. And if you try, they go back to the 1500s. And And again, it can go to extremes where such extremes happen, but the backlash is going to be so tremendous that those guys may abolish completely, torture and all these things, and ground it scientifically. Open dialogue is grounded scientifically, okay? Housing first, they're grounded scientifically, not like United States. Okay, we give you a house for 9 months and then we throw you to the street. Okay, nobody recovered from CPTSD in 9 months. This is, reality check. So they know they know how to do it right, um, and so yes, not easy country to infiltrate, even with this very chart that attempts to corrupt things, but still get the Uranus in Aquarius. And for the 1500 chart, let's see what this opposition yields. For the 15, yes, what is that? Oh, incense, frankincense. For the 1500 chart, this is going to be, with the Pluto ingress. Pluto will be approaching, as upon the ingress begin, it's approaching to conjunct Saturn. This is time of transforming structures to do with like hospitals, jails, and exile. But it's also transformation when it comes to defense from enemies. Mars is opposing that from the 5th and the 6th house, with the moon here being very strong. It's direct confrontation with, again, the connection with the Hu-F, okay? The Hu-F and Mars being here confronting that directly. And it can even be like the mythical warrior, okay? Finland has so much going for it. When you have like statues of the mythical resistance, the mythical this would put Finland in history. So I see here confrontation with the WEF, with the WHO, that with Neptune here would put those who fight against us, the people and the leaders, they will be mythically known, and in this case justfully, okay? So again, the only way with Finns is to do as Finns, and in this case it's not bad because they're not doing bad, okay? And most I'm sorry, most of the taboo that's happening here is global. You see, also Pluto in Aquarius is giving that. If I wanted to say, okay, what spill the tea on Finland, I would say, well, what? You want to talk about the castrations? It's a global problem, but now they have open dialogue and housing first to treat even schizophrenia. That means you can't tell, oh, this person is crazy and be put in political prison or hospital, or this person crazy on a domestic level. You can't do that. It doesn't work. Okay? And if you can, it's because of global intelligence infiltration. So it's a global problem. It's not local problem. It's not Finland. It's just like, hey, Finland is not exempt from that. What you got with this one? I don't know, sex trafficking. Okay, this can be local problem because Pluto is squaring Venus and Venus Uranus Beta and Venus on Beta per se. So if there's such issue that we know is not just Finland, there can be some global infiltration that comes at square and try to risk, but it's not coming from Finnish culture, because Venus here is in good placement. It's coming from some global infiltrations that try to make Finns something of that they're not. So again, we're going back that the taboo is global. What more tea you would have to spill on Finland? Exiling people, sending them to the cold, sending them to the this. Well, the children are placed in the harsh weather to sleep. So what would that be considered? Case if there's like special cruelty in Finland that there isn't in other places because of the weather. Okay, then maybe you would have to address that. And so and then maybe that would need to be reformed if such thing exists. This is pretty much the tea that you could spill on Finland. Okay, anything pedo rings affiliated for that would be and with this Mercury trine Pluto, I have to admit I'm not so too worried. More like women. But still, we know that the global infiltration is probably because of the 1917 chart. More so, that they try to make it possible to kidnap the children. But essentially, here I don't see a big problem. Um, okay, there is Mercury square Uranus, which can be problematic. Um, but this is more about, children of what we now call neurodivergent, and that square being mitigated by the trine to Pluto, perhaps by connection with nature, by having more space to be themselves, be left alone, okay? So they can be like certain shocking events around children, yes. A sudden shocking events around children that can be highly mitigated by this Pluto thing. That could be even the old shamans. I don't know what they call them in Finland, but the old shamans could curate a lot more for the children than they could for the women. Okay, with this one, according to this chart. Okay, I don't know the entire history, and and that again would lead us to something that's come from outside. It's not something that's internal necessarily to Finland. So so again, this is really genuinely, and I say to you, you know me as astrologer, I say, what is the dirt? Okay, what's the thing? What's the thing? What's the catch? You know, especially I'm Israeli, so I was like, what's the catch? Your country is not better than any country, but here it is. Anything taboo, anything teased to spill, has more to do with a global problem that infiltrates Finland locally than with something coming from the Finns. And this is thanks to the 1500 chart, not the Spring of Nation chart, not the 1917 chart, the original 1550 chart. And advise every person that's living in Finland to capitalize in, to go with this chart, remedify Venus. If you are a woman, then yes, this is the only caution that I have. If you're a woman, then I wouldn't go with this chart because it brings in the square, okay, for Venus, unless you want to remedify it with fifth lunar mention, Beta per se, and a good talisman of Venus trine Pluto, or you have it in your chart Venus trine Pluto, then would be okay. Okay, so and you have to try and see. Yes, if you see something you're not used to and you don't want this energy, then you can choose other things. But this is very good chart for a country. Very, very good chart for a country. And again, the Venus, I would remedify the moon. I would remedify again the moon square Pluto. Again, is square in Pluto, which is a big deal, but it's trine in Uranus, which again can be, what was my video about moon and Pluto today? It can be remedified by having a Pluto moon sextile or trine in your natal chart, in a synastry that you take with you, or in a talisman. Okay, now yes, Pluto to Venus, Pluto to moon is a harsh aspect, and that can make people more prone to go to the hospital or avoid the hospital, or some crisis that happens and that can do around fertility and birthing. But this here is clearly not intended, because Pluto here is not, we don't know about Pluto in the 1500s. Okay, and Saturn is actually closer to the trine than to the square. Okay, we have Saturn that's squaring Mars. Mars is applying to square Saturn, um, uh, which is an issue. But Saturn is in his joy in his 12th house, and Mars here is aware of the need to rest. If you think about the Napoleon army that was well fed and so on. So this is this Mars. It's an army that is well fed. So there is also thought about this. Um, and the square can even be expressed as, do we really need to protect ourselves from the army, or can we rely on witchcraft, on shamanism to do it, on our retreats, okay, the hospital, the jail system, the exile system to do it, and we don't have to get ourselves into a fight, because Mars here fighting Saturn. Saturn's like, hey, my role is to defend. Let's keep a structure. Let's build some, okay, technology. Okay, let's build some fence. Let's build some border, instead of like make attack or make self-defense. So this square can actually be an argument between what do we leave to defense, to the technology, and what do we leave for, boots on ground. But this Mars in Taurus, Mars in an Earth sign, is boots on ground. Okay, let it be no mistake. So if these guys, and this is the skill, this is second house, Mars is ruling over second house, there is a skill to fight on land, which is very necessary, for example, with Russia. So one thing I wouldn't challenge if I was to invade such a country is the thought that if we go, that first of all, the thought that they wouldn't go boots on ground, okay? This is not Mars in an air sign, this is Mars in an earth sign. So, and this is Mars is capable of the slow and steady. Okay, so I would not think that I could do a blitz. Okay, for those of you who are not like war literate, which means you are you're the okay of the bunch. You're not living in a Mein Kampf oriented internal and external politics region. region. Yes. My saving grace. Anyway. And that would mean a blitz would mean just an attempt to make a very quick war, that you conquer land and you reach achievements and that's it. Okay, so I wouldn't rely on a blitz with this one. And again, I wouldn't, it's given Israel to Nasrallah. Okay, it's every time we had a argument with Lebanon, it ended with the Lebanon war, not the third. Okay, gotta buy ice cream to the people. Lebanese people did nothing wrong, peaceful nation, modern nation. Okay, yeah, they don't have the infrastructure like Putin, yes, but we ain't got nothing with the Lebanese. So, and such beautiful place, right? So beautiful. So, but this is given that whoever messes with Finland will get boots on ground. And the fifth, and again, you can 1917 all you want. And still you get Mars in an Earth sign, you would get Mars in Virgo. What's Mars in Virgo? It's moving on. It's not fixating itself, but it's moving. It also moves the soil around. And what you can do with moving the soil around, you can build a forest just by moving the soil around. Look for the half moons. Okay? I'm still dealing with the implications of what I done when I did it in my backyard, because that creating holistic changes in the entire atmosphere of the climate, for the political. It moves the it is if I prepare the soil for a forest, then I prepare it for life. Anything not on the link, like child trafficking, cults, boundary violation in spirit or in matter, power dynamic between landlords and this, everything is just removed. Just move the soil around. Now I'm dealing with the implications, you understand? It's my housing for the time being. I don't know how I'm gonna spend a lot of time sleeping at the airport, I guess. So totally whole with my decision. And so, but you also get the wisdom of the nature and the wisdom of the talismans, and it's kind of like, and then when you think like, what the heck did I do in the soil? It's like the blood of the soil speaking to you. It's like, do you remember what you put your blood and sweat into this soil? Okay? You did something here. You built life here. You prepare this place for life. Anything that negates that has to go, is compost for the land. And this is these powers that you don't even know where they're coming from. So think about Mars in Virgo as the Mars that messes with the soil, moves the soil around, and that can create completely different dynamic. Okay. So again, also with the 1917 chart, I would not rely on Finland army not going boots on ground. This is news for NATO, because when in Finland, you do Finland. Okay, it's not like, oh, we have our own strategy, we have our own. This is a land, and you're gonna have to maneuver on the land. It means that if it gets worry in Finland, it's gonna be boots on ground. Just like look at Lebanon. I gotta do Lebanon chart. I think I did Lebanon chart, but I don't remember it. And every time there's a beef with Hezbollah, it's boots on ground. And we get soldiers killed and this and that. It's boots on ground. People remember wars in Lebanon more than they remember 73 even. That's the trauma. The trauma of the soldiers, not even Gaza. Okay? That's the North Lebanon. Because this is a war. It's boots on ground. It's that the Gaza, they said for years, they say, let us go boots on ground. Okay, nobody can say I regret it now because they asked for so much. To say, let the army do the job. Okay, whether you agree with that or disagree with that, you already know my views if you've been here in 7th October. Who the fuck did that? Okay? We're done. Nay. I said what I said. Gotta lose the culture. Anyway, mean it. So, when it comes to country like Finland, with this Mars, with this Earth Mars, anybody, any army that gets on the land of Finland, is gonna have to travel boots on ground. And the Finns, you're up with people that go to work when it's so cold that you cannot put your finger out. That's just so. Okay? It's very good that Finland is a peaceful nation, because otherwise you couldn't take them down. Okay? So I don't know about, I don't remember for Ukraine chart. I remember that was the Moon 22. And here you see the army is not particularly malefic. It's not like a 22 Mars, or it is like they're not fight oriented in the sense that they come to kill anybody. But they move slow, and they're on the ground, and they're Finns. They're used to that, and they're not necessarily coming for you, but it's kind of like that. And they're not many, but they definitely know the soil. Okay, they definitely know the soil, and it's getting winter time. So then, yes, it's no wonder that only when Putin was put in certain position, that it looked like he had the wandering eye, and it's very likely a globally orchestrated position. It's not like Russia needs more land. Okay, let's put it very clearly. And it's not like Putin is unintelligent about the meaning of Saturn and Neptune. He carried that time steps in his own chart. So this is only then when Finland would join NATO, because since 1917 it didn't. Okay. It wasn't having the wandering eye towards like communion with. There were great maneuvers were needed for that to happen, including but not limited to Crimea War, Ukraine War. What was it? Stuff in Chechnya again. I don't remember what else was there. Um, China, okay. North Korea paying a visit. So like there's really a lot was needed to happen to get us to where we have Finland as one of NATO member states carrying declaration in the coming days. Um, and yes, this is, we obviously understand how the Finns see it, okay, without being, super intelligent. It's just common, common model UN ground. If I had to represent Finland and think of how the people see it, or what Finland says about this, I would say the people don't like that shit. Okay? And they're not seeing that either. Okay? Not the maneuvers with the global migration, and not the maneuvers with the globalization. These are people that know how to treat their disease, and these are people that the attempts to put them under culture that's not their own culture is not so compliant. Okay, it's more Aquarian. It's kind of like they're gonna do whatever they want. So this is kind of like the common sense. The only thing that could bring the ties is the aspiration for technological development. But if they see this technology is too Ahrimanic, then they would go, okay, for the ancient knowledge that they do know, that does bring us to intergalactic communication. And never underestimate the power of intuition of a person who spends a lot of time in isolation, in nature, even when they're with friends, just observing, okay, just observing things, and even when they are sitting, in front of computer, don't sit all day. They will have a sauna. They would have their nervous system very, very tended to, and so, albeit the climate. We're talking about a very powerful nervous system that's in touch with ecosystem, that's very much in touch with galaxies, that's very much in touch with many things that you probably need to be in Finland to be in touch with, or you need to be a Finn. And that's something that I would not think that the culture that bases itself on bending nature down to one's will, rather than wearing the clothes you need to wear to go outside because you need to survive. I would not expect it to prevail over, in this situation, the natural reverence to the living conditions and the people. Okay, so, and this is all done not with a lot of words. Okay, not with a lot of words. So thank you for watching. I know this episode started on a Mars hour, so it can be divisive, it can be conflictual, it can, spark in some stuff, controversial, but that's okay. Okay, this is Mars night, Mars hour, and we're talking about, military issues and war-related issues. So this is appropriate to give good coverage of Finland for that. And even when I look at the taboo, okay, what would be the tea to spill? Here is very global and not so local. Yeah, the only challenges is with this Pluto square Venus, but this Venus has its trine to Uranus and trine to Rahu, and sextile descendant, sextile the south node. So even Pluto, she will liberate herself easy if any attempts, okay? And this is something to keep in mind, okay? That there can be power struggles, but the tendency towards equity, towards liberation, towards unique solution to this crisis um, is always showing up. And I think this is how housing first and open dialogue got adopted as well, even by this chart. So, and the Mars in the old chart was the ninth house and the second house. So again, strong houses. A third house placement. This, if you have to fight every day, you will. So a lot going for Finland, and very, very much impressed. Okay, I'm very, very much impressed as astrologer when I see such natal chart, and it makes me all the more excited to learn deeper about the culture and about the tradition and about the history, because I feel there is a lot of light for humanity from a place that's still preserved of times where some values that we think as modern perhaps are derived from these tribal societies, and with the modern perspective and adjustment, perhaps can be ushering us to Age of Aquarius. So yes, see you in another episode. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.